can't hear you, partner. You're muted. You're muted.
Pew, 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 pew. We are back and we are live.
Pew pew wars.
It is Rumble on Rumble. And ladies and gentlemen, we are excited to be here first. Let me bring my partner in because it ain't right unless it's all right. And it ain't all right unless it's both of us. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage right now, the man, the myth, the legend, your friend, my friend. They know him all over. I was talking to some people from Atlanta in Oklahoma City on the Moneybag Yo tour where I was last night. And this man's name came up because he's known all over and we love him. And he's my partner. And you're lucky because bam, what? There he is right there, ladies and gentlemen, DJ Protocol.
DJ Protocol.
Look at my African American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest? You know what I'm talking about? Okay.
He's the greatest. How you feeling, baby boy?
I'm tired. Oh, I got an echo.
Bro. There's all kinds of echoing going on, man.
Okay. All
I'm trying to get everybody on the stage and then go to work figuring all that out.
I understand. I'm tired, bro.
Tired.
Yeah, man. I've had a very busy week and a very busy weekend. But it was fun. It was fun. I'm inspired. I'm ready to rock and roll. I got my Birdman hand rub going on. It's going down, man.
Heck yeah, I'm excited about that. Well, let's not make the people wait any longer. I'm going to
shut up.
And I'm going to keep it rolling right now by bringing these ladies to the stage because they're awesome. I heard that we got the Georgia nerds in the building. How would you intro these this team, these awesome folks? How would you intro them?
Oh, man, this is arguably the baddest team of intellectuals on different divisions and different departments when it comes to election integrity, paying attention to like when it comes to just voting in general. I'm talking about like machines, the ballots, the numbers, and coming from me, because you guys know I'm a bad mother sucker when it comes to paying attention to this stuff. I mean, we talk about it all the time, right? But this team of people, like the Super Friends, they're like the Justice League of election integrity, particularly here in Georgia. Because when again, guys, all the ringside rumblers, all the new people coming in tonight, appreciate y'all for checking us out. But you're going to find out, we talk about this all the time. Whether it was things that I seen here in Chatham County.
This is supposed to be an intro.
Video, I'm introing them. I got it because they know I'm good and I'm praising them.
No one said you weren't good.
Listen, I'm saying they're better than me at it.
I agree. Let's bring them on. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, you may not know them, but when you do, you will be happy you did. Give it up for the amazing duo, a part of a much larger group of amazing folks. It's, ladies and gentlemen, the Georgia Nerds, Kim, P. Brooks, and Lori. Give it up. Pew, 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 pew. How are you ladies doing?
Ladies?
I'm entertained.
I'm entertained as well.
How do you guys like the new Trump hat? Got a new Trump hat today. Was a gift.
I see that, man.
You know what I mean? People are like, you're holding it down for Trump. We're going to give you the hat. And I'm like, just because I'm not beat up enough. You know what I mean? I'm kidding. You got to wear your colors proud. Right, ladies?
That's right.
Think you guys got a little delay on us, or?
Check.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they got a delay.
A little bit of a delay there. Okay, cool. And the feedback seems to be coming from Kim's mic there. So
I don't know.
Let me see if I can do something. You hang out there, Kim.
I'm in my foyer with no other people.
There we go. Try it now. And want to give a shout out to Savsan in the building. The GA nerds have documented election fraud by analyzing decades worth of voter rolls, absentee voter files, and etc. Awesome. And then Savson says, hi, Protocol, Lori and Kim, because I don't matter. Thanks, Savson. Heavens forbid. You know what I mean? You say hi to me, right? I'm chopped liver. Wow.
No, you're not chopped liver.
Welcome to my show. Oh, and of course, Fuego in the building. Fuego, I got a drop for you I'm working on. Stay tuned. Next week, it's going to be fire. So, yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, man. So, all right, guys, we know that this election, well, first of all, 2020 was a heck of a time. And even before 2020, because I watched in 2018 with some things that took place. And it was kind of like the precursor in the light before the big steal, you know, in 2020. And then subsequently, what was that, January 5th, the runoff election? They did a lot of things that was just in any other ordinary times, you know, 1995, you know, 2000, I won't say 2001, because, you know, we did have what happened with the hanging chads, and, you know, you had people who questioned it, but they kind of let it roll. But I think in the 90s, definitely 80s, 70s ish, I think heads would have rolled. Had the things that happened in 2020 with the stuffing of the ballots, you know, said in the ballot boxes, with the teams of people in various counties, because I wasn't in Chatham, but the way that they acted in Chatham, I'm pretty sure some things similar to what we witnessed in Atlanta with Fulton County with the mother-daughter dynamic duo, whose name I won't say because, you know, they may try and come after me. Like, those types of things actually happen where they was just counting them over and over, and they, you know, someone coming with bags of ballots into. So any other normal time, people would have seen that exposed and would have been like, yo, what is y'all doing? Redo that. But in 2020, they took it and they tried to hide it from us. You know, they tried to say that, no, you're just tripping, you're making things up, but we weren't. And the Georgia Nerds have taking on the spearhead of pointing at everything that they can point at, whether it's, you know, dead people removed from rolls and automatically ending back up on rolls, or mysteriously ending back up on rolls.
Remote
People in nursing
access.
homes voting. Say it again. Go ahead.
Remote access of absentee ballot laptops, where they completely deleted entire batches of absentee ballots.
So I have to out Lori. She's my partner in crime, but well, I'll recruit her any day of the week, but she's not officially a Georgia nerd. She's
Okay.
ex-Army intelligence that has her own lane. So I just want to set the record straight, but she will be there Tuesday night to unload some massive fraud in 2020. She's amazing.
We have, well, and you guys know that Kim is amazing too. And we say this all the time, that it was the hand of God that brought us together, because we don't travel in the same circles. We don't live anywhere near each other, but somehow we both ended up at this secret meeting. and we pretty much completely almost dismissed almost everybody else at the table. But ended up in with, I think, 3 of us or 4 of us out of that entire first group still remain. But yeah, the whole hanging Chad thing in 2000 was the precursor for them to introduce the electronic voting system. It was done on purpose so that they could bring in electronic voting and start cheating from that point forward.
I might even back up from there. So the National Voter Registration Act, so what is it? NVRA is 1990
the motor voter.
with William Jefferson Clinton. So that was put into steal. Then Help America Vote Act came out in 2002 after the hanging Chad to help them steal even more, to Lori's point. So things the Georgia nerds have uncovered, definitely the NVRA is a cover for very, very bad things that are occurring in our country via the Department of Driver Services.
I'm sorry, one more time. The Department of what?
Driver Services.
Okay. So for us uneducated, see, this is kind of why we have the show. I don't know if Pro kind of hipped you to it, but I am the unintelligent guy, right? I am your low info voter. That's the role I try to specifically play, and sometimes I don't have to play the role. I'm naturally dumb. But the idea is there's a lot of we're in it, right? I mean, you guys admit you're political nerds. I'm a political nerd. Pro is a political nerd. So what I try to do is represent the guy who's out there with the 2 kids working 10 to 12 hours a day who, wants to watch a little football when he gets home, spend some time with his kids, who maybe has, if he's lucky, 34, 45 minutes a week to absorb news. Maybe a conservative person, but just doesn't get the information that you guys have, yet falls victim to this ugly, gross stuff that these people do. So you just mentioned a department I don't know much about. And I had no idea they had that much control over our elections and who becomes the leaders of our nation, which ultimately forge and push forth our policies and decide ultimately how much, we pay at the pump, how much our taxes are, whether we can buy a home. So if you could, we're going to back up just a second. And could you guys break down just a little bit about that department, why they have so much power, and why don't I, as a regular guy, know about them?
So first off, who's had a good experience at the DMV? Right. Okay. So that is correct. No one. All right. So you wouldn't know as a good old regular citizen that the DMV is very much a part of stealing our elections. If you want me to go into that, I can do it. But the National Voter Registration Act by William Jefferson Clinton, Help America Voter Act was by George Bush. So anyway, so just to put some bad actors out there, both Democrat and Republican. So So NVRA says that every state needs to be able to allow someone to register to vote when they go to get a driver's license. That all sounds really good. So you're going to go in as a citizen, hopefully, but we're learning illegals are getting driver's license. But we're not talking about that right now. Let's just talk about regular citizens. So you go into the DMV and you get a driver's license. And in Georgia, you have to opt out of registering to vote. It's at the bottom of the page. Okay. It all still sounds good, but this is the reality of what is occurring with the DMV as it pertains to elections. And it's ugly, so hang on. The DMV, we used to track duplicate ID. So, you think you've only got one registration number, but you may have 2. And the way we used to think that occurred was you go in to renew your driver's license and some little difference in your name or something caused you to have 2 IDs. Nothing could be further from the truth. So we learn as we dig. It's all about learning. A year ago, I would have told you duplicate IDs were an accident. All right, but they're not an accident because now we have official records that it's not good. So if you have 2 IDs, the county official is supposed to merge your duplicate IDs. Are you with me on that? So you're supposed to merge your voter history and then you're back to 1 ID, so it's all good. So that ID that didn't survive gets canceled. And we know those that get canceled. Well, when it gets canceled, it's not a human. It's a number. Remember, you had 2 numbers and you shouldn't have had 2 numbers. And so you should only have 1. So the one that's canceled should never show back up in the system. Are y'all kind of with me so far?
Somebody should hit the delete button on that. It should go away.
Right. But it's still sitting out there in registration land. All right. Okay, so we're tracking duplicate IDs that get reissued on the voter roll. And we first caught on to a significant case. A gal lives in Bullitt County in Statesboro, and they were committing identity theft on her around 2020, but she doesn't know because she's admitted she registered to vote and she never voted. They pick on certain groups in the country that don't vote as often. All right. If you want to ask me about that, I can tell you more. But okay, so this person doesn't vote, so they're not checking their voter page to see anything because they don't vote. All right, so they're committing identity theft on this gal, and then the county can't they merged all these duplicates, so all's good until one of those duplicates showed back up in Gwinnett County. It's a number, but it shows up in Gwinnett County. Well, a person can own 2 homes. This gal's doesn't have lots of means, but it doesn't matter. If you have lots of means and you own a couple of homes, you still only can be registered to vote in one place. So, okay, that doesn't make sense. Well, she's still down there in Statesboro with her ID that she originally registered with, but her alternate self shows up in Gwinnett. Are y'all following along so far?
Correct. Correct.
And that's what got us onto the trail. Why is this duplicate ID showing back up, and why is it in another county? So I knocked on the apartment in Peachtree Corners, and she didn't live there.
Wait, so you actually went to the home?
I went to the apartment in Peachtree
Wow.
Corners, knocked on the door, and proved she didn't live there.
I'm going to pause. I don't want to be the bad guy here, and I'm just going to try. If you could check your volume, Kim, on whatever you're speaking to us on. I'm getting a couple people saying you're breaking up on us. If you could bring your volume down, like if you're like on a phone and there's the keep talking. Go ahead.
That's better. Okay. So I did go to the apartment and she wasn't there. And
Wow.
Someone in Statesboro called the young lady. She's not very old. And she said she's never been to Gwinnett and she doesn't live in Gwinnett. She lives in Statesboro. All right. So we thought we would be clever. And we had a person in Gwinnett challenge her on the voter roll with the board. And we just put, she doesn't live at this address because we didn't want them to catch on to the fraud. Meanwhile, we got records from via ORR, we got records from the elections system. This is where it gets serious.
Sorry, Kim. ORR is open records request for those
open records
unsure what
request.
ORR is. Okay.
Yes, thank you for yes. And so we received her election records, and this is when it gets really, really serious. So 90% of our new ads on the voter roll come through the Department of Driver Services in the form of a motor voter application. We obtained a copy. Someone handed it to us. They didn't realize what they were handing us, but they handed it to us. The motor voter application that came to Gwinnett County to put her on the voter roll. Our government stole her social security number, her birthday, her race and sex, her driver's license number, put her at that fake address, and forged her signature. We have 3 different signatures on this one individual over the course of 4 years. So our own government is committing identity theft on Georgians.
That's fraud.
Via the Department of Driver Services. Now, going back to what I said originally, make everybody laugh. If you're a county election official and you get an official DDS motor voter application, and you remember that was a horrible experience and they ran through the ringer, why would you think it was fake? The county official has no idea they're being given fake, false documents to perpetrate fraud on our voter rolls.
Wow. Wow.
So now that my question was, when it comes to that, or just people having access to it, one thing that I noticed in the streets of Savannah, and it happened all over the state of Georgia from what I understand, Stacey Abrams had the group that were wearing, I think they were orange now, so it had to be purple then. If it was, it's not, they're swapped around. But anyway, they would have people outside of the grocery stores, gas stations, strip malls, like a lot of the times in particularly minority neighborhoods, and they were registering people to vote. All right. And the more people you got registered to vote, the more money they got paid. So I don't know if y'all remember during Governor Kemp, Stacey Abrams #1, Stacey hit with the you have a whole bunch of voter registration applications that you haven't put through the system yet. Why not? And he was like, well, listen, we got to scrutinize these because these they looking kind of funky. I love Jesus Christ and all, and I would love for him to vote in Georgia, but I don't think that that's possible for him to vote in Georgia. You got Jesus 123 Heaven Street. So, so we gotta look into these applications, and it was them skating past the system, right? They would they had the Xerox, all the applications were the Xerox copies. And you can use Xerox copies. I'm sure if you guys have studied, y'all pretty familiar with the fact that in a last ditch effort, if you're out of voter registration rolls, you don't have the ability to go to this person, you can make a Xerox copy of your voter registration application and then allow them to fill it out. And they were taking advantage of that. All the people who were in the streets for the most part were using Xerox copies. And they knew they were going to look at those last, so they made them stack up and then say, hey, you're being racist because you got these black applications from these black areas that you're not putting the registration forms in. And I think they use that as a scapegoat. So in the information of what you're saying with using the copies of IDs, this information it just came out last week, that system was hacked and everybody's social security number is gone, everybody personal information is in the wind. Like
in America, everybody.
So in doing that for years, and these people know they have to register, like it's not far-fetched to say they've been grabbing this information and selling it to these organizations or these people so they can register people to vote and do what needs to be done.
So what you described is a non-governmental agency, organization hacking our voter rolls. What I described is not an NGO. It is higher than that. It is not an NGO. It is not an election official. It's someone higher up the chain that is stealing our identity and pumping it through the Department of Driver Services. And it's not an employee. It's not a bad employee at the DMV either.
That makes sense simply because I'm kind of an investigative journalist at heart, and there's no way this could be an accident. And not only that, you said the federal government clearly is doing it, because even if I had a great NGO, I wouldn't have access to people's social security numbers, DLs, driver's license numbers.
Well, but they do.
Yeah, exactly. And
the NGOs do, but they're provided by our government agencies.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, you have to be given that by a federal government agency that kind of at least knows what you're doing, or is willing to look the other way while you're doing something that they're maybe okay with, but is bad. So that's amazing. Also, who do we hold accountable, or do we know? Do we know who we hold accountable? How long has this been going on?
Lori has her opinion, but my opinion is where we are in 2024, Georgia has fully proven that they are incapable of managing themselves. And we are in a state of emergency because from the bottom to the governor, we got problems, big problems. But I'm going to tell you.
I agree with that opinion. I totally agree with that opinion.
So I'm going to tell you one more story, and y'all can cut me off. But this also shows DMV activity, and it's higher than the election official. So, who likes Shawshank Redemption? I do. I'm sure everybody loves that movie. Well, I thought I found a bad warden. Okay, so they are stealing the identity of our felons. Felons can't vote.
Right.
They're not allowed in Georgia to vote, but you can regain your right to vote if you were ever a felon. You have to complete some stuff and do some paperwork, and you can vote again. Statistically, most of them don't attempt to do that, but the bottom line is they are stealing the identities of felons. So there's this guy in Gwinnett again, and he in 2015 lived at 4169 Satellite Boulevard. Okay. And he was arrested for armed robbery, and he got 20 years. So he must have done something pretty bad to get 20 years. And Gwinnett canceled him on the voter roll.
Or, be black would be the other thing to get 20 years in prison. He could have been black and existing. That's a big crime. You're black while existing. That's 20 years.
So was the last victim. You want to go down that trail? We can. Okay, so back to the felon, Mr. Hickman. So Mr. Hickman, he shows back on the voter roll in May of 2023 at 3900 Chattooga Road, Columbus, Georgia, which is the jail. So he's sitting in jail, and he shows up on the voter roll.
With the prison address. With the prison address.
Yes, it is the jail in Columbus, 3900 Chattooga Road, Columbus, Georgia. Everybody look it up. All right. So he's sitting in jail. I verified it via the Department of Corrections kind of thing. In the very next month, now this is where you got to pay attention, he went to 3900 Satellite Boulevard. So they took the street number of the jail and attached it to the street name of where he lived before he went to jail. That's classic identity theft, synthetic identity theft, where they take pieces of real information and they shove it together, create a fake person, and commit a crime. It's usually financial, right? So Mr. Hickman, he has no idea this is going on. So I'm thinking, wow, what if there's other people on the voter roll at 3900 Chattooga Road? Yeah, there's a lot of people in the jail on the voter roll at 3900 Chattooga Road. And then they moved to 3900 William Street and 3900. So I got a pattern. So at this point, I know Mr. Hickman is innocent. All right. He may have done something really bad, but he didn't register to vote when he wasn't supposed to. So then I think I got a bad warden like Shawshank Redemption. Then I poked around the state and found some more jails. Well, we got a jail at 100 Henry Boulevard in Macon. Guess where all those guys go? 100 Newberry Street, 103rd Street, 100, okay? And we got another jail at 363, I forget that street name, but then they all go to 3. So basically, I'll stop. There's a pattern of how they manipulate the addresses on our felons while they're sitting in jail. And furthermore, they will build up the voter roll of all these felons. And right after an election, you talk about a dump of reg IDs right after the election on felons. They're covering up their crime. We had one felon vote on November 3rd, 2020, and he was canceled as a felon on November 3rd, 2020. So they're pretty prompt on their cover-up of the crime. So yes, these felons are innocent and their identities are being stolen.
Wow.
That's so that they can backfill the cheat. Okay. So that's so when they overinflate the votes with fake voters, with fake numbers, they can use the voter registration database to backfill those numbers in order to try and prove out the figures that they came up with, which is why the 374,000 ballot images that Voter GA won the case of receiving those, right? So they won that case in court where they could actually get those copies of those 374,000 ballot images. Well, those ballot images don't exist. They never existed. Those are all fake votes that were a pump and dump from the voter registration database, and then right after the election is over, they dump those people back off.
That I don't know. I'm sure you know Pro has a smoking gun, right? And we've been able to share this smoking gun with people that, you know, have millions of followers, and that his smoking gun are the ghost votes, the precinct. Have you been able to share with them that, Pro?
We haven't talked about it personally. I'm not sure if maybe Rick or anybody around, you know, the circle has spoken on it. But we have a precinct here, and you guys may have found it because you guys look over the numbers. This may be something you've seen. If not, hey, I got another piece of ammo for you, you know what I'm saying, to shoot off. Skidaway Island State Park was a voter precinct. Okay. 2020, there were 0 registered voters. This is for their statement of votes cast. This is their SOVC on their webpage. Matter of fact, hold on. Mike,
he's got. You
know what we about to do. You know what we about to do, Mike. So go ahead and bring me up. Here we go.
Yes, sir.
Present this. Share the screen. All right. We're gonna walk through this for the people, because I want people who watching to see I ain't making nothing up. This is real deal Holyfield. We're going to go down. This is the Board of Elections website for Chatham County. All right. We're going to hit up prior elections. We're going to go down. Now, this is their stuff. I ain't on, this ain't the dark web. This ain't nothing. This is good old Google, type in Chatham County Board of Elections. All right. We're going to go down to 2020, November 3rd, general election. They have the summary, the statement of votes cast, y'all. The SOVC, the statement of votes cast, tells you the numbers of everybody who's registered as a voter in a precinct. So you got your precinct in your first column, your registered voter number, the cards cast, your voters cast, and then the percentages based on the cards counted versus the amount of registered voters. You get your turnout. All right. This is when they tell you about your election turnout, guys. This is where they get the number from. Let's scroll on down to page 10. All right. 8, 9, and here's the magic page. All right, we're going to start here. This is Skidaway Island Baptist Church. So you guys should see what it's supposed to look like. 1,744 registered voters. They got 426 people who voted allegedly. 426 people who allegedly voted, and then the turnout. All right. You see their numbers, 1,744. You got less than the amount of people who voted, which is what it's supposed to be. And yeah, we go down to Skidaway Island State Park. We have 0 registered voters, guys. 0. However, they say there was a total of 1,599 people who voted. Absentee by mail, advance voting, and election day. Well, how do you have essentially 1,600 people and no registered voter? You literally have a not applicable voter turnout. Now, we just downloaded this
for you, Ben.
Please. And I tell them, you know, because this right here, you know, me and Kemp used to be all right. I got a video. It's on the internet where he seen me at Jekyll Island, and it was like, "Bro, what's up? How you like?" It was love. Gave him a hug. You know, it was all cool. And then I was like, "Man, we gotta talk. You know, I got a problem in Chatham County." He's like, "What happened, man?" Look, I got a precinct with 0 registered voters and 1,600 votes, and he flips to, "Oh shit. Well, you know, you got a problem. You should take that to the Secretary of State." Yo, I done did that. I'm talking to you. You the top dog. Yeah, I hear commercials now. Topdoglaw.com. You is topdoglaw.com when it comes to the state of Georgia, bro. You're the governor. The buck stops with you. You're Georgia's president. That's who you are. You're Georgia's president. You got to deal with this, bro. He scratches and he's like, "Yeah, you know, a lot of people got a feeling of what I can do, and you know, that's just not." And he skated. Like after that, it was like, "All right, well, you know, love you type, Joe. I gotta go, bro." Like it was that, because this is a smoking gun, and I just want, you're telling me there were no problems All the numbers were perfect. There was no issues. It was the greatest election we've ever had in Georgia's history. And then I'm pointing to you this precinct. But guess what's worse than the fact that there's 0 registered voters in 2020? The very next election, this precinct is removed. It's gone. It's not even on the list.
See, that's what it sounds like. What they were saying about how they like make it all
The pump
disappear,
and dump.
and it's and to give it to the kind of the hot stuff going on. Literally, this is you have the entire Democratic Party justifying trying to lock up Donald Trump for saying, "Find me the votes." But if I'm the president and I have people calling me from Georgia going, there are thousands of votes that make no sense that we can't understand, that we weren't planning for because there's not these registered voters for these votes to be coming in, right? If I'm the president and you call me and tell me that, I'm going to be like, well, find me those votes, right? Find me the votes. Find me where they're coming from. But they twisted that, gave us half an explanation, half a story, and then, built that as whole truth. So, on that end, it's crazy how they can take part of what we're doing and they can pervert it and turn it into reason to try to lock people up. And then, of course, we want to get into it a little later, but I definitely want to ask you about, the charges that came down for electors, which is good. Pro is one. Pro is an elector. You know what I mean? He was close. I was very worried about my man, getting papers, So does this line up, what he just said, does this line up with what you've seen? And could you go into if you've seen more of this statewide and, and kind of how you see this working?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kim even found in the primary election in my precinct where I vote that at the time that they reported it, they said that there was only 4 in-person people who voted in my precinct on the primary when I was number 187 on election day. But what they were reporting was only 4 people voted in person on election day in my precinct. But the tabulator said I was number 187. So, I mean, yes, it's happening. It's happening right now. It happened in the 24 primaries.
And I want to stop everybody and make sure we know before we get too far along, we have to vote in huge numbers in this November election.
Yes.
But based on the evidence that I have seen over the course of 2020, 2022, and the recent primaries, most of the cheat occurs in the early voting. So with that said, they call us the gold standard and they give us a month to vote. There's a reason they give us a month to vote. They take advantage of you thinking this is so convenient. This more fraud occurs in early voting than on election day. I also want to tell you voters, I'm going to do something personally that other people are promoting. I've never voted via absentee ballot. But in 2020, a lot of Americans showed up to vote and they were told, you've already voted. So their vote was stolen. It happened a lot in lots of counties. So August 19th is, it's tomorrow. So that's the absolute first day you can request an absentee ballot for the 2024 general. So I recommend everybody requesting an absentee ballot. I did not say you have to vote via absentee ballot. It is your constitutional right, whether you vote or you don't vote and when you vote, all right? However, if you ask for it, there's going to be less chance for some bad actor to ask for it on your behalf and you won't know it. So then I recommend you sit on it. You do nothing with it. I may personally vote for the first time via absentee on election day, but I'm recommending that every American vote on election day. And in Georgia, you have 2 choices. You can vote via an absentee ballot or you can vote on the machine. But I'm recommending you don't vote early and you ask for an absentee ballot and you just sit on it and you have somewhat protected the ability of someone else to steal your vote. But
Absolutely.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to ask for my absentee ballot. I'm not going to mail it, obviously. For one, they're intentionally messing with everybody's mail now so that everybody gets used to the fact that when it comes to election day and they try to extend the time that they're going to accept mailed ballots because the UPS or United States Postal Service is so jacked up. They're going to try and do that, but in our latest attempt, we're going to chop that off at the knees in our latest lawsuit that we're getting ready to file. But yeah, that's what they're going to attempt to do. So
no lawsuit on the Postal Service, yeah.
No, we're not doing a lawsuit on the Postal Service.
Okay, but the usage maybe with the ballots.
Well, because federal law requires, and state law, Georgia state law as well, requires that any ballots that are received beyond the closing of the polls are not allowed to be counted. So Georgia law says if it's received beyond the closing of the polls, it's not allowed to be counted. Federal law says it has to be received on the set day of election. So in order to be counted. So it doesn't require before polls close, but it does require that it's received on the set day of election. So that's 2 USC 1 and 7 and 3 USC 1, if anybody wants to look those up. It requires that all ballots are counted and a candidate is named on the set day of election, which is described in our constitutions, both federal and state for Georgia, that says the set day of election is the first Tuesday following the first Monday in November. So we have.
She locked up.
She can lock up. She lives in a rural area and she'll come back.
Okay.
Well, also she was doing the most dangerous thing. She was empowering the American people to, legally have their rights to vote. Oh, I think she's back. Are you back, Lori?
Yes, I'm back.
All right.
Lori is back.
All right.
Yes, that's right. So, yeah. So we're going to try and preclude those excuses, as well as, obviously, CISA and the DOJ just put out that report last week or week before last that they're expecting that the counting of the votes is going to take longer than usual because they're expecting DDoS attacks on our election systems that aren't connected to the internet. They're expecting DDoS attacks on the non-internet connected election systems that might cause a delay in the counting of the votes, right? They just put that report out that they're expecting it during election day, which I think that's a twofold issue. One, it tries to scare people into going ahead and voting early instead of on election day. And two, it gives them the excuse to go ahead and run that DDoS attack on election day when they figure out that over half of America is going to show up on election day to vote, and there's no way they can adjust that algorithm in time or with enough votes to overtake it.
Lori, if you continue on this by telling me that protecting democracy isn't installing someone no one voted for president, I'm going to lose my mind.
Well, actually, in Georgia, I can tell you for a fact, in Georgia law, because the Democrats did not have a nominee before July 9th. July 9th was the last ballot access date in Georgia. So if
this is very important, please break this down. And Kim, please jump in. But if you guys could give us all the texture and detail. I want the lettuce, tomato, pickle, onion, ketchup, I don't just want the meat here because it's extremely important people understand literally kind of, for lack of a better term, the soft coup and how there's a lot of stuff for for Cackling to actually be representative, there's a lot of rules they're going to have to bend, if not completely break. Is that kind of correct there?
Well, they would, it's not even just rules, it's the law in
It's the law.
Georgia. So in Georgia, the law says that the final ballot access date is July 9th. And you can actually go on Georgia's sos.gov, .ga.gov. You can go on sos.ga.gov and look at his little election calendar that tells you all of the specific days. And it even lists the statute that gives the reason why that's the last day. And it says that July 9th is the last day for ballot access for parties. So that's the last day a Democrat, Republican, or an independent can put themselves in as a nominee. Now, they still have the ability to ballot access if they choose to be a write-in candidate. And even then, they only have, I think, until September 7th or 13th, one or the other, in order to get all of the information in that they need to the Secretary of State's office to be a write-in. So at this point in Georgia, the Democrats have already bypassed or have already gone past the ballot access date. So therefore, in Georgia, there should not even be a Democrat on the ballot.
Or Joe Biden. It just have to be Biden's name, right? Because he was
Or it would have to be
presidential.
Joe Biden. That's exactly right. Because you're exactly right, because the only way they can get around that rule is by having primary elections. And since Joe Biden was the only one on the primary ballot, on the presidential primary ballot, they actually could bypass that. So yeah, Joe Biden would be the only one that would be eligible to be a Democrat. He is the only one that's eligible, to be a Democrat. That's exactly right.
He's the only
on
one
the Georgia ballot. And if our GOP allows that to slide, well,
I ain't.
Yeah, there you go. And nobody should. And nobody should. Yeah, July 9th was the final ballot access date, and the only way to get around that is whoever was on the presidential primary ballot and won the presidential primary, which was Joe Biden.
That's just
I wanted to answer a couple of questions your listeners had. Can I do that?
Oh yeah, please. Normally we kind of have our talk and then I break down the chat, and I think this is a great time. Also, please weigh in, Kim, on the legal ramifications and that type of stuff. If you have anything to add, we want to hear.
No, I was going to answer a couple. You had a couple of questions from your. Yeah, there you go. That one. Okay, so if you choose, it's your constitutional right, remember I told you, to show up on election day and vote, and I've already suggested that you get an absentee ballot. You bring it with you. You don't, you bring it with you and you surrender it if you want to vote on that machine. If they tell you you've already voted, you need to call your local police office immediately and fill out an identity theft report, because your identity was stolen and your vote was stolen. You know it wasn't you. And especially if you have that absentee ballot in your pocket or your handbag, you know somebody electronically stole it because you asked for it and you got it with you. Okay? So that's your evidence. And you need to bring it with you and you need to surrender it. Now, if you choose to vote via the absentee ballot, your precinct probably lawfully cannot accept that absentee ballot. It has to be at certain places in Georgia. Now, Gwinnett County's already broken that law, and they were accepting absentee ballots at the precincts, but that was unlawful. It breaks chain of custody. I would never ever put it in a drop box. Okay. People are suggesting that, and it's more inconvenient, especially for people like me. I've got to go 15 miles or more in downtown Atlanta to the elections office for my county. But people are suggesting that we surrender that absentee ballot if we're going to vote via the absentee ballot at the elections office. So no mail is involved. No drop box is involved. So you're cutting out a lot of places they can cheat. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. I like to talk about things that are in files, but there's a thought out there might be a cyber hack, and then all these people that waited till election day to vote, they're going to have a hard time voting. Or you could just look at what happened in Arizona, and they were practicing having those ballots jam in their scanners. So if you have that absentee ballot in your hand, you have a plan B. If they screw with us on election day, you have your vote on paper. And so you have a plan B to vote. So it's another reason to go get that absentee ballot. And, you know, you may choose not to use it, but you've got to surrender it or you got to vote on it. I think I answered all that.
If you choose to vote in the precinct on the machines and you carry your absentee ballot in there, you know, there's 3 dates for the absentee ballot, and Kim can go over that here in a minute. But if you show up and they say, well, you've already voted by absentee ballot, you can whip your absentee ballot out and say, well, no, I have not, because here's the absentee ballot right here. Then you want to call your sheriff. Call your county sheriff to show up, fill out your police report for the identity theft. And then there's another step you can take too, which is pursuant to 21-2-412, and that is find whoever the Superior Court judge is that's on duty for your election day challenge. And once you have your happy little police report in your hand, you need to walk your happy butt into the Superior Court judge and file an election day challenge. So, and then what will happen is that judge will actually give an order back to the precinct to allow you to go ahead and vote, right? So they'll, if your precinct supervisor will not go ahead and cancel out the vote that they recorded erroneously in your name and allow you to vote, then you have another option of going to the Superior Court judge. There's one on duty in every circuit throughout the entire state on election day from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on election day. So everybody needs to know that. It's an election day challenge, and that's what it is. So here's the thing, though. So if you walk in, that's for the most part, I'm going to say that that's not going to happen. That's probably only going to happen to a very few people. But if you go in with your absentee ballot and you choose to vote on the machine, make sure that one of the poll workers or the election superintendent, the precinct superintendent, writes canceled on the outside of the envelope where you're supposed to sign, and they also have to write and initial that. So they have to write canceled and they have to initial it, and they have to write canceled and initial it on the ballot as well. Make sure they do that in front of you while you're standing there.
And we sound like we're whack, but it's based on what we know. So here's another thing about absentees. It's awful, but it's 2020. We had over 5,000 that we found. We had over 5,000 vote credits that showed they voted absentee. We found it in the absentee file, and it had a blank for ballot received. It shows it was requested and issued, which means mailed, but a blank, it never came back. But they got credit anyway. Yeah, and it gets a lot worse. Pierce County, I talk about this all the time, but if you're deemed mentally incompetent, you must be removed from the voter roll and you cannot vote. That's law. And that's a pretty high bar. The Superior Court judge has to deem you mentally incompetent. You just can't say my brother-in-law is mentally incompetent. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so then the judge sends the election office. I don't have a mentally incompetent brother-in-law for everybody. Anyway, so the judge sends a list to the election official, and so they remove them from the voter roll. Well, in Pierce County, they did everything they were supposed to. They removed this person in like September, right before the election. And then the ballot came in. You know, it had already been issued, and then the ballot came in. and they rejected it, and they said ineligible elector. When you reject a ballot, you have to say why you did it. So the county put ineligible elector. Well, I'm thinking they don't get many mentally incompetent cancelizations, and it was only a few weeks prior. So they knew what they were doing. They did everything right. But guess what? That ballot got credit anyway. So we've proven the override from a central location on top of counties doing the right thing. Did that make sense?
Yeah, to me.
It's not good.
No, not at all. Pro?
Yeah, you know, I'm riding the wave, man. I'm over here. I'm trying to tame this thing. I feel like Johnny Tsunami, man. This is one of those you got to get tubular because it's so much. It's so
It
much.
is. It is.
One thing I want to
On Tuesday, are y'all gonna tell everybody about Tuesday and Kim and Laura and Helen?
Oh,
Oh,
yes,
We're gonna sit
absolutely.
down Tuesday.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna be in the building. I'll probably be there early
Well,
with y'all.
Okay, good, because then you'll be able.
Oh
Oh,
man,
she cut out again.
she'll come
right
back.
when she got good.
Make sure I'm going to ask you guys to hold me accountable. I want to close by just at least taking a few quick minutes to talk about how important voting is. Simply because this is something that it is. Look at all the work you guys are doing, right? Look at all the work Pro's doing. I like to think that I'm doing some stuff too, but we are doing a lot of work and it matters so much. Yet there is this movement of just, voting's not important. Nobody cares. My vote doesn't matter. And then poof. And all the work we're doing to get your vote to matter. Now, my favorite counteract or counterpoint to people who say that is if voting didn't matter, if your vote wasn't important, why would they spend so much time, money, effort, and resources to steal your vote, to nullify your vote? If your vote wasn't important at all, why would the bad guys do all that? Right? So, like it or not, by very fact of the absence of evidence, I'm left with Occam's razor, which means my vote is important, right? So the idea there is I definitely want to go over that a little bit. I'm looking for the graphic to pull up. You guys did a great flyer. I know I have it somewhere here. So I want to pull up that flyer. Let's talk about Tuesday and what's going to be
Can I
going on.
comment on why your vote's important?
Yes,
So
please.
we're all Americans, and
Mhm.
I think a lot of us right now are struggling with putting food on the table and the gas and the increase in the insurance, and it's rough out there. And stolen elections have consequences, and that's the bottom line. Whether you want to talk about border or whatever you want to talk about, stolen elections have consequences. So everybody is an American that gained a right to vote. And on election days, one of the most American things you can do is exercise your constitutional right to vote for whomever you want to vote for. We just want one man, one vote. If we all had one man, one vote, whoever wins. But the people's vote. Now, we know our elections are stolen, but they have a hard time cheating when we all show up and vote. They don't want you to all show up and vote. And I'm a mischievous sort. So if I can stick a needle in their eye and I can vote and make it hard for them, that gives me like an exponent on why I want to vote. And that gives me an exponent on why I want to vote on election day, because I know they don't want me to vote on election day. So I'm going to vote on election day because it makes them really, really difficult to cheat. And then if they have to cheat, you want to talk about the ladies with the suitcases, it becomes obvious what they're doing. And so when it gets so bad that they have to cheat so bad, it becomes pretty easy for people to prove it. So you got to get out and vote. You got to exercise your constitutional right, and we got to stick it to them. if you just like that attitude.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't vote, and they need to get out and vote. They just need to get out and vote.
I think a lot of people
Absolutely.
don't vote is, but they've definitely been. I got the flyer share for you too, Mike. They've been dumbed down. These people who are now trying to completely take over our country, right, with all of this communist tactics of I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you this. They're the people who infiltrated our education system, and henceforth, that was the first stop they got into. They got into our education system, then they got into media, which is also an extension of the education system, because how many people get educated, motivated, inspired by something they see on TV, right? So they took that over, and they stopped educating us on civics. Teachers stopped
Mm-hmm.
teaching civics like they should have. Teachers, schools stopped focusing on what it was to actually be a citizen, and what your responsibilities was. Instead, I'm going to replace it with all this other stuff, and then I'm going to give you all the shiny stuff. So now all you're thinking about is like the basics of work, paying my bills, having a place to stay, and spending whatever excess money I have from all of the hours and time that I've given you on a day-to-day basis on shiny things like this new shoes or this new purse or this car that I really can't afford. But you know what? I ride around people and they think it's a good looking car. So I feel good for all the time that I give to this job that I'm just slave away day in, day out. And we have to remove that. They have to get put back into the mindset of like of the forefathers, right? And even some people call third world countries, like they have leisure time where they enjoy things, but their day-to-day life is actual work. They grow their food, they're with their families, like they're doing that type of work. When you get in that mindset, then you're more likely to pay attention to what's going on in politics. You're not, shrouded by everything else that's going on. And that's where we have to, just in my humble opinion, we have to get people back on that mindset of life, to where they can actually pay attention to civics and citizenship, because they just don't know. They haven't been taught it. And then the people who did may have tried and talk about it to them have been extremely drab and boring. And they just, you know what, forget that. I'm going to pay attention to Tom Brady and his wife instead of paying attention to the laws these people are putting in on my name. But coming up Tuesday, though, let's get back into this greatness. Chatham County, Savannah, Georgia, Thunderbolt, Georgia, Pooler, Georgia, Richmond, Richmond Hill, Georgia. You're not Chatham County, but you know what? You're right there. You're close enough. Bloomingdale, all surrounding cities within the Chatham County municipality. You guys you have to show up to the Montgomery Athletic Association on Tuesday at 5:30. Well, the show starts at about 5:30, so you may want to get there a little early so you can get you a good park and get you a good seat. We gonna drop some. Listen, you think you getting some stuff dropped on you on the night? You think you getting something dropped on you night, babe? Listen, I need you to do one thing. You better hold on to your beanie, because listen, Tuesday night they coming with some funk. They coming with some funk. Bring your notepad.
The funk. Sorry.
It's there. Anyway, you don't want to miss it. Tell grandma, tell your auntie, tell cousin now. It's a rave. It's a straight rave. And it's nothing but facts on how they steal your vote. Black folk, my fam. Hey, cuz, you need to come pull up. Because they cheating behind you. They pumping these minority precincts, these minority districts. They're pumping and cheating and hiding and doing this crap through the lady that she talked about that stayed in Statesboro and then stayed in Atlanta. She didn't say, but I'm just going to go on a limb here. Was she a black girl? She was?
Yes.
Okay.
And she lives in public housing. And she's a very sweet girl. I've been fighting for her for over a year. I fight for her.
And she welcomes the fight, right? She welcomes the fight.
She was a little scared, when we called her, and I would be a little off-put, somebody's stolen my identity, but she's a nice girl, and it's just not okay. And I've been fighting for her for over a year, big time fighting for her.
They hide behind you, because whenever we say, hey, We need to look at these numbers. They don't look right. Why are you trying to suppress black vote? They trying to suppress black vote. And then it just reverberates. And do you know what most white people say when that starts coming out? Shit, I ain't got time for this. Boy, I got a life to live. Y'all not finna be picking outside my house. You got it. I'm done. I'm walking away. I don't even feel like you don't want to fight for yourself. Fine, you got it. But don't say I didn't try and warn you. And don't say I didn't try to help you. Like, this is literally the conversation. Which is why I'm telling you, pay attention. Pay attention. The mother-daughter dynamic duo in Atlanta. It looked like her. The lady who was stuffing the ballots in the ballot box out the bags. It was like us. Don't let them hide behind you with the foolishness. What did they say? Oh, that new Senate bill in Georgia, it's Jim Crow 2.0, and it's going to suppress the black vote. And they don't want black people to vote. And then black folk turn out to vote in higher numbers in that election than they did in an election before. They hide behind you. Stop that shit. Come on Tuesday. Come get some of this here good knowledge. And then take it back and go get your baseball bats and your switches and your extension cords, and let's go beat some behind, because these folk ain't finna pull this cheat no more. Let me get off my soapbox. Let me get some water.
So Ben, promise me, because I look at the data, and we don't look at race or party. We look at reg IDs.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't bring up things that you can bring up. So you promised me that on Tuesday, you start asking me some questions. And when you start asking me questions, I'll unload on you.
I got you.
Because I got something to say.
I got you.
I just can't say it myself.
That's okay. Look, I asked them questions, baby. Listen, I love asking those questions because
Good.
it helps me, because listen, look, you don't think I got it bad. I got the big, they think this is the most racist flag next to the gay flag, you know what I'm saying, that comes around. And then I got him, who's the most racist president allegedly that's ever been in the White House. Like, you don't think I get it, but these are my questions, and it's because I genuinely care, because these are my family members. These are my classmates.
Those are the people that can be brought up on charges for voting twice in the state.
Yes.
I mean, that it's not even them committing the voter fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Their identity was stolen by our government. So their identity was stolen by their government, who committed the voter fraud on their behalf. But they're the ones who can be brought up on charges for that.
I'm excited about Tuesday because Ben's going to help me out with my presentation.
Yes, I am.
That's awesome. That's going to be a heck of a time. One thing I wanted to ask you guys, we've got a great question from Safsan in here. And if I'm saying your name wrong, Safsan, I apologize.
You're saying it Safsan. That's exactly what it is.
Cool. Just because, yeah. Once again, I am the least intelligent person on the panel, and I'm okay with that. So, Savsan says, I've worked at the same precinct several times, and the manager and managers ran it well, and I don't suspect problems at that polling location. Do you think it's worth it to actually work the poll on election day?
Absolutely. So we all have to volunteer and get involved in some way, and being a poll worker or a poll watcher is one way to have a major impact. If we don't have people watching, we can't catch them doing shenanigans. And yes, you probably do work at a good polling location, and that is wonderful. But that doesn't mean you stop. You absolutely, that is your place, that's your calling to get involved, and you need to continue it, because the more watchers and workers we have, and a lot of times there's shortages, so that's the other reason to do it. But we need to watch their every single movement.
I don't,
and plus, when they start remote accessing the poll pads and adding hundreds of voters that the poll pad says showed up in person to vote. So if you're there working, you see that happened, right? So we had people in Georgia who had video of that. and actually posted those videos where they showed where the poll pads were remotely accessed, and they added hundreds of people to the poll pads and said
That's
that they
fine.
actually checked in person when they did not, obviously. So at least if you see that that happened, that gives you the ability to raise the stink that we know we didn't have 700 people check into this poll pad. We only had 480 people check into the poll pad. So now what do you need to do? Now you need to go ahead and pull those original cast ballots out of that damn tabulator bucket and count the number of ballots and compare it to the number of people who checked in on the poll pad.
So, and this is something, it's so important, I think, to mention. Pro did a debate with like one of the heads of the Georgia Democratic Black Caucuses recently, right? And I think he's based in Atlanta. A young man named Devontae, amazing guy, amazing young guy. Had a great debate. It was more of a conversation than a debate, which I almost prefer. I think that's more effective nowadays. But by the end of it, he had Devontae going, oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's why Stacey Abrams lost her election by so few votes. Now, not saying it is or it isn't, but the fact that we have been demonized simply for asking for, verifications, recounts, just the basic things within the letter of the law you're allowed to do to, verify your, election results. We become demonized for doing that. Now, as somebody who clearly, where I stand, right? As somebody who where I stand, I still say if a Democrat legitimately wins, a Democrat should get that office. And I don't want my party cheating to win, and I don't want your party cheating to win. And as important as anything else, election integrity, man. You know what I mean? So if it's a Democrat, if it's a Republican, if it looks shady, let's dig into it. Let's figure it out. Because then at the end of the day, then I think that a lot of this is a mental thing to make us feel like our votes don't count. So they can pull all these shenanigans and do these kind of things and get away with it. So, one, I want people's vote to know that it counts, but I think it's also so important to let people know this isn't a race thing. It's not a Republican thing. It is an American. If you live in this land, right, and you're going to pay more at the pump because the president shuts down the pipeline and opens up the federal drilling lands and going to allow oil prices to skyrocket while your price at the pump and everything shipped to you from your meat to your groceries, to your Amazon all shoots up. Well, then, we need to know whether that guy was officially voted in, regardless of race, color, creed, religion, or what you like to eat on Tuesday. So, I think that's some of the most important thing that I don't want people to miss when it comes to working with the GA nerds and Lori and you folks is that what you're doing is important and you're standing up for the rights of everyone. And I would say probably more than likely if they agree with you or not. Kim, for instance, the young lady you were working with, if she came to you and said, I will never vote Republican ever, never in my life, but I just don't want my identity stolen. Even if it goes for the, candidate I would prefer, I don't want it stolen from me. You would still work just as hard to protect that lady's right to vote as you would if she said, I'm, going to vote red every day for the rest of my life. You would still give them the same respect because it's important that these rights are upheld in this shenanigan-y BS stuff. I'm trying to be a gentleman because you ladies are on and not use harsh language. But because Pro knows I have an
Based
awful
on what I
Pray
know,
for me. Pray for me. Yeah, but
based
yes.
on what I know, I'm no longer a Republican or a Democrat.
Well, yeah. Well,
Me either.
It's a uniparty.
It is a
Once
uniparty.
you wrap your head around that, and they're trying to pit us against one another, then you realize nobody's good. Nobody's good.
That's exactly right.
Tuesday.
would you say that's
Tuesday.
worse on a state level or a federal level? The nobody's good uniparty situation.
I think it's from the ground up.
Yeah.
Lori, can I ask you, are you an attorney by any chance?
No, I do not have a bar card. I'm not in that slimy group. Just saying.
You just have strong attorney vibes. I respect it. I love it. But you have strong attorney vibes.
Well, it's because I filed, I don't even know how many lawsuits pro se now.
So speaking of lawsuits, I heard something, and I said I would ask, and maybe you guys would know deeper. They're requesting something for Raffensperger. They're like trying to get him prosecuted. They're trying to get charges. Are y'all familiar with that?
Oh, I did read that where they're trying to have him brought up on charges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I read about that.
Okay.
And that was also a pro se lawsuit, by the way. You know, we can't get attorneys to take up any election integrity lawsuits because you have
They're
people
scared.
like Mark Elias
Yeah,
and
they're scared.
the Project 65 coming in, or you have people like, you know, Lynn Wood, who the Georgia bar goes after his license. He didn't even need, you know, Mark Elias to do it. The Georgia bar did it. But yeah, so you can't find an attorney to pick up stuff. So we've just gotten to the point where we just do our own research and file everything pro se. And we have 2 attorneys, I think. One of them is actually retired, that actually have bar cards that we actually trust. In the whole state of Georgia, there's 2, and one is retired. So, yeah, so we have one who is an amazing lady that actually helped the amicus brief filers on the U.S. Supreme Court writ of certiorari file, and she's awesome and amazing, and she's probably going to be helping us file this next lawsuit we're getting ready to put forth too, because we're filing it in federal court, not in state court.
That's awesome. Real fast, and by the way, thank you so much. For those of you that don't know, the GA Nerds have their own Rumble channel, and they drop all kinds of brilliant knowledge. You did a quick 5-minute video recently. If it's okay with you, I'd like to go ahead and play some of it here. The name of the video, just so you know, is Call to Action on, let's see here. Let's see here.
So that's not my evidence. That's call to action on 3 rule changes that's going to happen tomorrow. And we wanted to put pressure on the state election board. So that was in support of some other patriots in Georgia. And those rule changes, we have evidence that supports why those are important. So that's not our evidence, but you go for it.
It was great presentation. And also, while we're specifically speaking about Georgia, what you're talking about, I'm a little spoiled and lucky because I'm in the literally the reddest state in the union. And luckily enough, I lean conservative, so it's, you know, easier for me out here. You know, I'm in Oklahoma, right? So, I mean, we have a President Donald J. Trump highway. So that's all you really got to know about Oklahoma. We every single county in Oklahoma carry Trump both times, and now this time as well. So literally, so I'm a little spoiled, right? I'm in a deep red state, so this type of stuff we don't have fighters like you here, you know, and you understand it. You know, a lot of times the problem has to arise before the fighters stand up and fight. However, this stuff goes on here in other elections. This stuff goes on nationally in all 50 states in the union. There is these type of shenanigans going on. And just the fact that you guys do this, any intelligent person can extrapolate. This is information I need because the laws, little bit of change in the states, but overall the federal election laws are pretty hardcore. You know what I mean? So, oh, Rumble was hiding the chat, El Salt said. Wow. What up? LS in the building. Great guy, great patriot in Atlanta. But yeah, we're going to watch a little bit of this, and then if you could tell me a little bit about it. We got to give LS his drops. Yes, okay.
Yeah, there we go. Gotta give him his pew-pews, you know.
Look at my
Pew-pew war.
African-American over here.
Yeah. All right. So what we're going to do now is check out a little bit of information from the GA Nerds Rumble channel. This is something that they recently released on new rules that were recently changed for Georgia voters.
The Georgia Nerds have a call to action for everyone in Georgia, as well as anyone
Well, who's that fire voice? Wonder what she's doing.
outside of Georgia that is concerned about Georgia elections. The whole country should be concerned about Georgia elections because of how it affected everyone in the country in 2020.
Yes.
And they're on the path to do the same thing in 2024. I know that doesn't make people happy. Okay, so there's a couple, Jason and Lucia Frazier, that have been in the fight for years, working for free, trying to make change, impactful change in our elections in Georgia. They have 3 rules that they're proposing at the next state election board. The call to action is to get as many emails as we can in support of these 3 rules. Let's talk about these 3 rules and how the nerds have found
Shout out Savsan. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel you're watching us on, and support protocol. And thank you, Savsan, for your chats. Thank you very much.
Many of criminal patterns with these reports that they're trying to get for free. It's important to have access to our government records so that we can hold our government accountable. And the Frazier team is doing their best to get these rule changes, and we need to put pressure on the state election board to pass it on Monday. So this is an immediate call to action. Rule number 1, voter rolls. Our voter rolls were $250 until July, and they went up to $485. If you've been following the Georgia nerds.
Wait, so you're saying if I wanted a copy of the Georgia voter rolls, it would have been 200 and change, and they more than doubled it, basically, or doubled it roughly. Is that correct, Kim?
And the reason is we have the cleanest voter rolls in America, and that costs money to maintain.
Plus, they're transmitted electronically, aren't they?
Yes, it's just a button.
Yeah, they push a button, and they charge you $250 for that. There shouldn't be any charge for them at all.
And now $485. So all they're doing is raising the barrier, raising the wall, making it harder for the average guy to get this information. Brilliant. And once again, this is a simple 5-minute thing, but it's actually way more brilliant. And then when you get into the meat of it, it's amazing. And what they're doing and their reasoning behind it, it's important that folks know. It's important that folks know.
You can follow other people as well. But if you've been following us, we've shown you all kinds of malfeasance in the voter rolls. The reason they went up in price is they literally say on their website, because we have the cleanest voter rolls in America, and it costs a lot to maintain those.
Well,
a lot of states have free voter rolls. All you've got to do is ask. Jason and Lucia Frazier are asking for free voter rolls like other states in our country. Rule number 2, certified list of electors. The Georgia nerds have shown you fraud about how they're backdating registrations. Over 2,000 registrants in 2020 appeared to have a date that showed they had registered in time to vote, but they weren't in fact on the voter roll on that date. So there is criminal manipulation of our certified list of electors. The Secretary of State does not produce a certified list of electors, which they should per our law, to people to hold them accountable on the elections. So rule number 2 is very key that the Frazier team has come up with. We want that official list of electors the day after the deadline to vote. It's a federal law that they should have that list. We can hold them accountable if they're backdating registrations and voting fake voters. Rule number 3, numbered list of voters.
Okay, before we get to rule 3, let me just pause on that simply because we're lucky enough to have a Georgia elector here in our midst. And very important. Lori, are you still with us?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Lori's on audio.
here.
Oh, there she is.
Okay,
There's
there
that
she
pretty girl. Hey.
I turned my light down because the bugs are just killing me.
Fair enough. So we have an official elector here. and we have clearly both of you extremely aware of the process. Talk to me about the current law so people may understand and why they need the change that they do. And then, Pro, your personal opinion as somebody, involved in this, what do you feel about that?
So it's federal law and state law. So the federal law says you have to have an official list of electors, the people that are allowed to vote, that are qualified to vote by a certain date. The certain date is the state law. In Georgia, it's the 5th Monday before the election is the last day to register to vote. Or if you moved, you got to get your act together and change your address with your elections people to move your address so you can vote. That's the law. It's really clear. Okay, so in 2020, the deadline to vote was October 5th. So everybody had to be registered and on the voter roll by October 5th. What we proved is they packed over 9,000 registrations after October 5th and had a date of October 5th or before. It's criminal manipulation and backdating of the registrations. Over 3,000 of them received credit for voting. So one way to cut down on the cheat is if we get that official list of electors the day after, like October 5th, so we get it on October 6th, and we compare that to who voted and see if we have people that weren't on that list that got credit for voting. So it's key. It's just another accountability step, but the sad part is they're already supposed to give us the list, but they never do.
Pro.
So as far as electors, so there are, and they throw this word, well, you hear it when it's used for party purposes, right? When it comes to delegates and electors, you hear it, and a lot of people think that when you hear electors, it's just that party. But in the spectrum of the law, when it comes to voters, like the actual voters are electors, right? Per state law, they are electors. They are electing their representative in our representative form of government, right? So anyone who is registered and eligible and registered to vote is a state elector. They're an elector for, well, they're a county elector, a city municipality elector, and a state elector. They're registered to vote in the state, and then subsequently, the municipalities that follow. So when you hear elector, as she's speaking on it, she's speaking on, who's on the voter rolls, you know what I'm saying? Who is eligible to elect someone to vote. So, although, I am, within the party of the state and can do, and if I decide to pay the money, that costs too much. I think I told y'all that before. They wanted at least $5,000 just to do the RNC. And that wasn't even for my goddamn hotel. You know what I'm saying? Like it was. Oh no. Excuse me. That wasn't for my travel. Hotel was included because we had to stay in their hotel, but that wasn't my travel to get there and back and around and eat and all that other good stuff. So it's very costly. It's open. It's, if you got the money and you stay in a particular state, in a particular county, it's very likely that you can be an elector for your party, as long as you got that check. And that's the bad thing. That's the thing that, we have this two-winged bird right now. But it should be, I like overseas parliaments simply because there's not just one dominant, two dominant, three dominant parties. Like there are all different facets and parties. And I even like them because they actually get the fisticuffs. Y'all ever seen those fisticuff videos when they be in their little chambers and I love that. I wish we could do that in America. I think a lot of the stuff that a lot of the laws that are being passed and that's being presented, if they actually fought in the halls of Congress like they did in Parliament, we wouldn't see none of the stuff that we see going on right now, because people will be we're Americans. We're out here in the MMA gym just to stay in shape. That is a thing these days. So you're a congressman and you talking smack and you don't realize you're going up against an MMA trainer or fighter in the gym. You know what? Yeah, I'm not going to fight no more now. We're going to talk about this. What part of the bill you said you didn't like? Oh, okay, okay. Let's go ahead and get rid of it so we don't have to worry about that. But the way that things have been getting back to, how why I like the parliament and the party structure and why I'm a part of a party. Um, the parties have taken over our election system to the point in, a lot of these races, the state house of the state elected official races, the representation of the state on the federal level, you have to have a declared party. That's the only way you can gain access to the ballot truly, is by having a declared party. Right. So, my mission is, first of all, I love the history of the
Which is
Granville Party.
unconstitutional,
It
by the
it
way.
is. It is. But the only way that we can actually get in there and smack it down and as saying, hey, this is unconstitutional, is to actually be from an organized party within the structure that's like, wait a minute, guys, this isn't supposed to be here. Let's remove this. Let's get this out of here. Let's get this off the books. And that's what scares the old guard in the GOP, is that the younger people are getting in now, and we're talking to the sensible older people, and we're the ones who don't mind swinging on you if needs be. And they know this, so they're like, oh man, they're coming in droves, and this is the fighter generation too. Yeah, I'm going to get out the way. I'm going to leave. I'm going to run. There's too many of them. And I think that's where we have to get to go. And once we get more of us in there, we can get rid of this whole, hey, have party access thing. And we can, we can destroy the uniparty, because essentially, even though we hear Republican and Democrat, once you get up there and in the midst, you become a part of the uniparty, right? And our thing is, we are here to seek and destroy the uniparty foolishness and bring back the stability of the mental acumen of the everyday people. And they're going to be the ones who control these positions: school board, mayor, governor, state senator, state house rep, so forth and so on.
And I personally, if I may, that's the dirtiest trick they pull, is making local elections red or blue. Because I know Democrats that are great people that you have to work with in your county and city and precinct, even more specifically. And the problem is, you don't get to run as a, independent, as a libertarian, as a, whatever the case may be, as the protocol party. You know what I mean? You don't get to run as that in these local elections. And as we know, local is what ultimately determines federal. So that to me is the most frustrating part, because, I can get, if I've got say I've got a town with, 300,000 people or 400,000 people, and I need 100,000 votes to win an election. I can do that legitimately. That's something we can do locally, reaching out, radio stations, door knocking, old school good stuff. But they don't let you do that unless you're connected to a party that then feeds you money that you're then obligated to afterwards. And we're just talking basic front end. The ladies, Kim and Lori, and you, of course, are getting into the very deep back end of all of that, which is, very important to get into there. I got so many questions I want to ask, but I need to keep it linear. So what do we do specifically? I love, by the way, El Salt's asking this, which is leading into my question. Do the ladies think AG Chris Carr will reopen the election integrity case against Fulton County that was requested by the Georgia State Election Board?
There are people. Okay, let's just laugh. Chris Carr is not good. Okay, next question.
So here's the thing. All of our lawsuits that had all of this evidence in it, which were originally filed back in August and September of 2022, right? So those were the original lawsuits that made it all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, Chris Carr, by our second appeal, Chris Carr himself was the attorney for Brad Raffensperger. So he is aware and has been aware, and actually the rules of civil procedure in Georgia require that if you have any kind of an elections integrity or a voting issue lawsuit, that not only do you have to serve the defendants or the parties to the case, you also have to serve the State Board of Elections. You have to serve Brad Raffensperger, even though he was a defendant, so he got served anyway. And you have to serve the Attorney General with all of those documents, with the lawsuit and the evidence. So they have all, the State Board of Election, the Attorney General, have all had all of this evidence since 2022. So do I think Chris Carr is going to do anything about it? I don't think so. But I do think that the State Board, or that what needs to be demanded is that the State Board of Elections get outside counsel versus going through Chris Carr. And if Chris Carr doesn't do the right thing and actually recuse himself from it, because he really can't pick it up. He's got a conflict of interest because he already represented Raffensperger, right, as a defendant. So he can't really pick it up because he's got a conflict of interest. So what he actually needs to do is recuse himself and make the suggestion to the State Board of Elections that they seek outside counsel. And that's exactly what needs to happen. And if that doesn't happen, then there's another official complaint that we can file.
Can I pick on a listener?
Yeah. I love picking on our listeners. Once again, you can ask Pro. I'm being very well behaved because of you ladies. Also, not for nothing, but my mom is listening right now.
Bedtime. You know, I may get crazy here any minute. Okay, so the person that said that, well, Fulton County said there was no problem in 2020. I hope you were dripping with sarcasm.
Oh yeah, he's just
dripping of sarcasm.
Yeah,
the
that
sad part is the nerds have proven that all 159 counties there was fraud. We're all focused on Fulton, and we should be. They're low-hanging fruit. They're bad, but yeah. I hope that's sarcastic.
Well, you know, even Raffensperger said that he wanted to fire Ralph Jones and Rick Barron because of how badly they performed their, not only the election day stuff, but the two audits that happened in Fulton County. Raffensperger requested that they both be fired. That's how bad those audits came out. Even Raffensperger requested that they both be fired. Even though now, you know, he lied in front of Congress and said that, oh, the elections were perfect. He said that after he wanted to fire Ralph Jones and Rick Barron for having such a crappy election and for having such crappy audits.
So I'm in trouble because I'm a morning person, and Lori, she's cranking up. Can you tell? So we're going to talk about this more on Tuesday, and you have to come and learn about audits because we're going to drop some stuff on audits.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Tuesday night, baby.
We're about 20 minutes out from calling it a night, if that's okay with you, ladies, unless you need to go now. Of course, we wouldn't ever hold you. But if you have that time, I'd love to. I have about, one more thing mainly I'd like to touch on and then make sure Pro and you guys talk. It's just, you guys are so valuable. I understand your time is extremely valuable, but to have you here is awesome. I mean, I feel like we barely gotten started. Please, if you have the opportunity and time, please come back and talk to us. Really value you guys. Thank you so much for being here. When Pro was like,
we appreciate you having us.
Oh, come on. Yes. Pro was like, thank you for coming into the sweaty locker room of politics that we call our podcast and hanging out. But I don't agree. LS, we know. We know you're LS. So you're the sharp stick poking. We love it.
I'm glad you came clean.
So one thing I wanted to touch on just for the listener's sake, the likes, the clicks, the celeb, the TMZ. Ladies, give me your opinion on Fannie Willis.
Okay, y'all want to hear? Okay, instead of Fanny, we can talk about Fanny. She's easy, right? But y'all want to hear?
Talk
something
about
really
some
good?
low-hanging
Yeah.
fruit.
Yeah, she is easy from what I hear. But anyway,
But you want to hear something that maybe your listeners don't know?
yes, absolutely. Hot
So
God.
you're going to learn on Tuesday about the audit that never occurred that Raffensperger told Congress and people from his office lie under oath about. It's still on the website. So you're going to learn all about that.
Oh, he testified to it in state and federal court as well. So he perjured himself.
It's just a small thing. Well, it never occurred. Okay, you got to learn all about it. But Bob Coover, he just is a pit bull, and he took it all the way up to the governor, and the governor's office said, we can't prosecute. You got to go to the investigative. I can't say it, Lori.
Inspector General. Inspector General.
I had the wrong I word. Inspector General. And he worked with this Inspector General for quite a while. And then the Inspector General went dark. And he couldn't find.
Well, this was after the Inspector General said, you know, because Bob presented him with like 27 different issues, and he said,
it's going to be Tuesday. But the Inspector General that went away was Scott McAfee. And he had all this evidence of 2020. And then he went dark. And then he wasn't the Inspector General anymore. And the next thing you know, Governor Kemp has appointed him to be Superior Court judge. So McAfee should have recused himself right out of the gate because he already had evidence of 2020 being a problem. How about that?
Wow.
that's right, he wasn't Inspector General anymore because Kemp appointed him to that Superior Court judgeship. So here's the thing, Scott McAfee and Fannie Willis worked together for almost 4 years. So he even contributed to her election. Scott McAfee did. So Scott McAfee, for one, should have recused himself as a judge with a conflict of interest. 2, Fannie Willis is outside of her jurisdiction by even bringing this case. This is a federal case, and she is a state DA. She's not even a state DA. She's a county DA for Fulton County, right? So she's not even a state DA. She is way outside of her jurisdiction for even bringing this case, and I can't believe that nobody has brought that up in order to get that case booted.
Do you think it's just because everybody's in on it? Do you think that it's
yes,
it's just a whole corrupt from top to bottom kind of scenario?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, because time is tight and we respect your time here, and I'm not going to ask you for another hour, which I could go till midnight with you ladies because
I'm willing to talk about anybody's low-hanging fruit, so bring it on.
Also, Lori, you give me big Atticus Finch vibes. Yeah. I love the Atticus Finch vibe. Pro, I definitely want to give the floor to you, man. I'll shut up. I got overexcited. I apologize, but you know, I'm sure you have some stuff you wanted to hit with the ladies.
Bro, I got Tuesday. You know, I got Tuesday. I'm working on a few things. I told Helen. I asked her. I said, "Hey, are you gonna live stream on Tuesday? You're gonna record?" And she was like, "I didn't think about it. If we can, well, you know me. I'm the guy. I'm the guy."
If only you had a protocol.
And they called the pro. So, you know, that's right. That's right. So I'm getting things together. You know, I've been working on that all weekend, and we're gonna stream. So I have everything that I need now. I'm missing one more thing, and that is the plutonium from the Iranians that I need to meet them in the mall parking lot for, so I can put it in the flux capacitor and we can take off.
Playing Go Johnny Go on one of my guitars. Anyway,
y'all are gonna think I'm crazy, but like I dreamed this shit, and
yeah.
So
I do too.
I woke up. This shows you that my brain's working while I'm asleep, and I wake up on a Saturday morning. And I sit up in bed and I go, I've got it. And it was like the flux capacitor. I figured something out. And I was, oh, yeah, ever since then. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Flux capacitor.
Well, that's
Yes,
awesome.
ma'am.
So this is going to be 5:30 Eastern, correct, guys?
5:30 Eastern. Yep.
Okay, cool. Want to make sure because I'm Central. Then of course we got our folks on the West Coast that we're gonna want to have them tune in as well because as you know, and this is something Pro does good, and kind of the whole reason for this show is that Pro has an amazing Friday night show, but it's very high level. You have to think on a higher level than the average guy thinks, right? But higher than your average TV show of people hitting each other in the head. So it's very high level. And I was like, man, if he had a stupid guy to help him break this stuff down to your average, just blue collar dude, we could reach a whole nother group of people. And I saw how those Georgia elections and what was going on in Georgia, not only specifically, you guys live in a hot state, right? It is a hot state. I would say Minnesota and Georgia are the two hottest states currently when it comes to all the action. To me, I couldn't exactly tell you why, right? Could be, New Hampshire and Nebraska for that matter. It happens to be Georgia and Minnesota. It seems like what happens there are big indicators of what's going on. Like you guys are almost the incubators there for what goes on in the rest of the country. So that is so important. And so what you guys do specifically and locally really have ramifications for all of us. If I'm a conservative in California, if I'm a conservative in Texas, if I'm a conservative in Illinois, it doesn't matter, where I happen to be. The information you guys provide is important to everyone and carries over. And the fact that you guys are active in this, if we had y'all in every state, it'd be a lot better country. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, it'd be a lot better country. So,
well, we're working on it, man. We're working it to make it as best a country as we can, at least in our communities. And at the very least, making sure that our state that we call home is the best that it can be in this particular country. And I think that's where it starts off at. Your neighborhood, and your neighborhood to your city to your county to your region to your state. And then, when I say region, I mean like your state region, and then your state, and then your actual, country region, the Southeast region, and then the whole US. But, you got to start small. And that's what we're doing, man. We're doing everything we can to start small, let the people around us know, and then travel into the other neighborhoods around us and other counties and places around us so that they can know, so a spark can be, started in them so they can start spreading like wildfire to let their family know. And we make sure we keep Smokey the Bear out of here because we don't want that wildfire stopped. We need that one to keep going. We need to stop this wildfire fraud that's going on. And the only way we're going to stop this wildfire fraud and really thieving on we the people is to control burn. And right now we're the control burn. The Georgia nerds control burn. Lori control burn. Protocol, Fresh Mike, we're the control burn to stop the spread of this foolishness that's going on amongst our family members and our country members, our fellow countrymen and women. So if you want to hear me talk more, come Tuesday at 5:30 at the Montgomery Ferguson Athletic Complex going down.
Heck yeah. And that's going to be 6:30 Central and
Nope.
5:30 Mountain, 4:30 Western.
4:30 Central.
Sorry, 4:30 Central. Ooh, early. See, I
Yeah,
keep
the
wanting
early
to
for
do
you.
that because I dealt with
Yeah, you
West
always-
Coast for so long. I'm so sorry.
We're first. We're
yes.
first.
You're first. Yes, absolutely. 4:30 Central, 3:30 Mountain, 2:30 West time. Very important. You guys tune in. So, Pro, we can look for it on your channel. Is that correct? Or GA Nerds, or maybe both channels? Heck,
Well,
Snipe, you put it on my channel too.
hey, listen. If all goes as I plan on it to go, it'll be on everybody's channel. I'll put it over on mine. I'll make sure it'll be on Georgia Nerds first. All right,
Yes.
they're going to be first
of
on the
course.
list. So, we'll make sure that day. Like I said, I'll be there pretty early, and all I'll need to do with you guys is we'll just set up a Rumble stream, all right, and then I'll get the code for Rumble and put it in, and we'll go from there.
Good question dropping in right before we go. LS, we'll get that last one. Can Chris Carr and Brian Kemp be prosecuted for dereliction of duty by not pursuing election integrity issues?
My
Well-
answer is no, not for not pushing it, but there's other reasons that you could, but
Yes.
I'll let Lori answer that.
Yeah. So, well, you know, Brian Kemp was actually required, pursuant to the authority granted to him by the Georgia legislature, to put out an executive order requiring that this electronic voting system immediately stop being used. Back in November of 2020, when he put out the press release saying that, you know, he found that there were so many issues with all of these votes and everything all of a sudden showing up well after the polls closed, and that there were issues, I mean, widespread issues across all these counties. And he listed all these counties, which of course he left out Fulton, but he listed all these other counties in that press release. But he went ahead and certified the election anyway, even knowing there were still all those issues hanging out there. And his excuse for doing that was to allow the Trump campaign to require or to formally request a recount. Well, what should have happened right then is he should have issued an executive order, because the Georgia legislature would consider this an emergency for the state of Georgia. They would consider it a constitutional crisis in the state of Georgia because of the deprivation and dilution of the people of Georgia's right to vote and right to privacy, which is another whole big giant issue that you will find out on Tuesday, by the way. But he actually was required to go ahead and do an executive order because his main job is to ensure the protection of the constitutional rights of the people in this state. That's his main job. His second main job is to ensure that the laws in the state of Georgia are being enforced. Well, OCGA 21-2-368C requires Brad Raffensperger, or the Secretary of State. It happens to be Brad Raffensperger right now. So it requires the Secretary of State to immediately cease the use of this electronic voting system if it appears it cannot be safely or accurately used. And no such voting system, so no voting system like it, no more electronic voting systems can ever be used in the state of Georgia thereafter. That's what that law says. If it appears it cannot be safely or accurately used. Appears is a very low bar, right? You don't have to prove that it wasn't able to be safely or accurately used. It just has to appear that it wasn't able to be safely or accurately used. And he was supposed to do that. So that right there was another trigger as to Kemp's requirement to issue an executive order to stop using these machines. So in our next lawsuit, Kemp is actually one of the defendants as well. So it'll be Kemp and Raffensperger in the next lawsuit. And then no matter what happens with that lawsuit, well, I mean, if it goes through, then that's great. We don't have to worry about it. But if for some reason that lawsuit doesn't go through, we still have another trick up our sleeves that we are not going to publicize until the very last minute. And we will have everything put together for people so that they will be able lawfully to require their ballots in their precincts, their votes in their precincts, to be hand counted.
Which is, oh, we have 5 minutes left. Dad got, yeah, no, we saw that. We saw that there's an update in those laws going on right now. Tuesday, I'm sure you're going to cover it. Everybody, listen right now. Tuesday, bam, 5:30 Eastern. You got to tune in. You got to check it out. We're going to be giving you more information. Of course, you know, to always follow protocol. You want to follow the Georgia Nerds on Twitter as well, or myself. We're going to make sure we're blasting this. We give everybody every possible opportunity to find out more about it and to tune in if they can. And then just one last thing before we go. We got about 5 minutes. We'll start with Pro and then go Kim. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. You on mute there? There you are. We'll start with Pro, then go Kim, then go Lori to finalize, or as your new nickname, female Atticus Finch, Lori. So you're out there in the country talking law. You know what I'm saying? You give me big Atticus Finch vibes. So anyway, just real fast, the importance of voting. Clearly, we're doing all this for one reason, and that is so voting has integrity and people's rights aren't trampled, specifically their voters' rights. So if you could break down, of course, starting with Pro, why is voting important to you, and why do you feel people should understand that it is important to them?
I'm gonna save me for last, bro. I'm gonna let the ladies go before me, bro. I ain't getting down like that.
Well, I wanted them to close it out with their power because we're always doing a show.
Okay, that's cool. I'm just, trying to
all right,
defer
ladies.
the gentlemen of ladies first, man.
So we'll start out with Kim.
Okay, so I worked 3.5 years for free for love of God and country. Got pissed off. I was asleep like a lot of people, and I knew 2020 wasn't right. And I'm semi-retired, and so I wanted to give back to my country, and that's what I do. I work full-time, 7 days a week, uncovering fraud in Georgia, and it's been a journey. And if you'd have told me 5 years ago I would be doing this, I'd think you were crazy. So that's me.
Awesome. All right, Lori?
Well, personally, I'm almost of a mind that I think that people should be forced to vote. I mean, I am an Army vet, and I'm right there with Kim. 5 years ago, if you'd have told me that I'd be in and out of court up against 8 other attorneys sitting in the bench next to me and just little old me sitting on my side, I would have laughed and said, okay, well, why would I do that? I'm not an attorney. But yeah, everybody needs to get out and vote. It's definitely a right, and I think that I really do think it should almost be required. You shouldn't be able to have a say in how your country is run if you don't get out and vote. You need to get out and vote. Everybody needs to get out and vote. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care if you vote for Democrat, Republican, Constitution Party. I don't care who you vote for. We're in this fight to ensure that who you vote for actually gets counted, that your vote gets counted for who you choose to vote for. And that's all I'm about, and that's all, Kim and I have worked so hard for free. We put out time and treasure in this fight, and, we don't get paid to do this. It costs us thousands and thousands of dollars and untold thousands of hours. And I'm retired also. Well, my husband doesn't think I'm retired, but I'm retired also, and I'm just in this fight for election integrity. And the only way we're going to be able to get back to that is if we unplug our elections from top to bottom so that your vote can be your voice. And that's all I'm fighting for your vote to be your voice.
That's awesome. Pro.
Man, I got a check last week, and my taxes was atrocious. It was a comma in it from one check. Dang on comma. And that comma is being sent in my name per my quote unquote elected officials, right? The people who allegedly represent me. My money is being spent and sent any and everywhere but where I would like my money to be sent, which is preferably back to me. It's got wings, it's gone to Ukraine. It's hopped the tunnel and went to Israel. It got a boat or a ladder and it's jumping the border. But it ain't doing nothing for me. And these people who's making these decisions, they're doing it because they got the most votes, allegedly. Because of that alone, I am inclined to make sure that I vote for the person who's going to handle my money accordingly, because I'm a father and I'm pretty sure I can spend my own damn money very well in some great places. So because they're doing that with my check, and then the elected officials allegedly that are doing the foolishness inside of my kids' schools and my kids' friends' schools and my kids' cousins' schools, that bothers me. So that brings on the importance of voting for me. I just ask that when you do it, you be educated. I'm all for everybody voting, but I personally, I think we need a test. And it's funny, we've been ragging on the DMV, but look, I will take one thing from the DMV when it comes to electing, and they need a voting permit, right? Bring on the voters permit. Come in here. Here's the book. I need you to know about the branches. If you can't tell me the branches of government, you don't need to be voting. If you want to vote in your precinct and you can't tell me your precinct number, what district you live in, and who's your representative, you don't need to vote. I'm sorry. Show me that you know what you're doing. Don't come because somebody slid you $100, you know what I'm saying, for you to come press this button. And they gave you this here sample ballot with all the names you need to bubbled in for you. No. It's not going to work that way. It's not going to work that way. Get educated, because these are the people who are making the decisions that are going to affect us. They're the ones who got rent high and the inability to purchase a home for a lot of people. It's them, man. I'm gonna get off my high horse. Y'all don't high pro get down. That's the importance to me. All those things.
Absolutely. And I'll just wrap that with look, at the end of the day, what you want, you're not allowed to have unless you play the game, unless you participate. The thing that really gets me, the thing that makes me probably the most angriest of all, is the fake tough guys on the internet. One of the worst things the internet has created are these keyboard warrior dudes who don't get out and vote. They're not in their community. They're not out there working to provide or try to at least open the door and show a crack of light for a better way for us. They're too busy being right on the internet. Then you got people like Kim and Lori and Pro. And I know for a fact personally with Pro and clearly with these ladies, once you learn what it is, you understand these people spend an amazing amount of resources, money, time, sacrifice of family. Y'all, that's a big deal. That's time you just never get back. And you can't put a price on it. So they sacrifice all of this, probably sometimes holidays, probably sometimes hot as the Dickens standing outside, probably cold as all get out standing outside, helping people, getting dirty, sign waving, taking the hits and the attack. Because gosh knows if you're going up against the establishment, the powerful establishment, the crooked, evil establishment, they're going to, as they've said, 6 ways from Sunday, right? So the idea there that these folks are working so hard, and then there's folks out here that are keyboard warriors. Stop it. Be a man. Be like Lori. Be like Kim. Be somebody or be like Pro. Be somebody, if you're a man out there bragging about how much you know and how tough you are and how Republican or Democratic you are, if you're not out there, if you're not trying to make the community better, then you are useless. If all you can do is tell other people not to vote or cry about how you're not voting because your vote is so important and they don't get it because they're not catering to your needs, you're not a true American. You are somebody borrowing. You are somebody taking, right, from us who are trying to give, and it's free to vote. So the most important thing there, by the way, Pro, are you proud of me? I don't think I've said one curse word all night.
I've been cursing for you, man. I've been cursing for you, man. You got it.
I'm
proud of you. Proud of you, man.
But seriously, be more like these folks, and do your due diligence. It is a privilege and an honor to live in America. My man says Inflation Reduction Act, not agreed. It is a privilege and an honor to live here. It is a privilege and an honor to be able to take part in the system and choose the people that represent you and that lead the direction of your country. So get involved, man. Care. Don't tell us you care by going on the internet to get people to click and like for you. Truly care. I promise you, with Pro, with Lori, with Kim, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, because 90% of the work they do is in the streets with no cameras to record. Look, they're having this amazing event right here on Tuesday. And and they're like, oh yeah, we should blast it to the rest of the world. Yes, you should. And thank God for Pro. That's when these teams unite. And that's another thing. If you get out there and you start working like-minded people, God will provide. Thing is, when you get in a groove, other people in that groove are looking for you the way you're looking for them. And this is a great way for us to unify, to get our rights back, to have something more like the country we want there. So with that being said, I want to, I like to leave you guys. Please let us know where and how we can follow you, where we can find you for all the folks listening, and that'll be it.
So you can follow the Georgia Nerds on Twitter at the GA_Nerds_real. We drop our videos there on our Rumble channel, but you can also go to the Rumble channel at the GA Nerds, and we post 5-minute videos. That's where you can follow us.
And you can follow me at The Good Fight on Twitter. That's the only social media that I have, is Twitter. So, and it's at The Good Fight. And that's it.
What a great handle. That's a great handle.
Right. That's the one right there. I like it. Just
and Pro?
gave her a follow myself.
Yeah, me too. Pro?
Well, guys, you can follow me over on the X Twitter world at Seaport Pro. That's at CPORTPRO. Same thing over on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, Pro Reacher Adams. What else am I on? Oh, I'm on Truth, but I don't use it. But it's protocol. You can add me just for the formalities of it if you guys like to. And then go over and follow me on Rumble and YouTube at Protocol. PRO2 KALL. PRO2 KALL. You already know, Friday nights, 8 p.m. The hottest flight around. Friday night flights. Oh, this Friday is going to be interesting because I'm coming live from Pope Palooza. It's another Pope Palooza. So we're going to be talking to a lot of different artists, and college is back. The kids are back in town for school. So we'll be there for that. We'll be talking to them, and we're going to figure out where are they mentally when it comes to elections this year. And I'm going to drop a little hint on you. They're not feeling Kamala. That's right. So we're going to talk about that Friday, and then Saturday, you guys just might get a special stream. I don't know. Just look out for it. Yeah, I'm just saying. And then Sunday, we back at the grind once again. The hottest ringside seat on the internet. Rumble on Rumble, Protocol and Fresh Mike, man. You can catch us right here. We'll be here waiting for you with the goodness.
Awesome. And you know me, and if you don't, it's just Google me. I'm easy to find. And maybe not so much of the politics world yet, but I've made my bones.
White Mike. The white Mike I got was a dude selling drugs. I know that wasn't you.
that was the 90s, bro. Anyway, so guys, thank you so much for coming on. Let's give you a little applause.
Thank you.
Yes, Lori, Kim, you are invaluable. Please, you're more than welcome. You have a platform here with us. If you ever want to drop in and be like, hey, there's some hot new stuff, or whatever, give me 15, 20 minutes of the time, or, I'm more than, or you want to do a full show with us, you're more than willing, or we're more than willing to do that for you. Thank you guys so much. And of course, as you guys know, every Tuesday night, PT Pod, been busy doing a lot of stuff. So been kind of, back burnering that, but it's very important. Looks like Reef is going to be back from Haram Life. Shout out to all our chat. LS, Reef, Amy, Sweet Digital, Jack. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sav San, CJ Red, Montoya. Shout out everybody in the chat. Guys, please make sure you tune in and listen. Follow Lori, follow Kim, Georgia Nerds. And of course, as you know, if you're watching, you probably already follow me and Pro. Guys, this has been Rumble on Rumble number 36. It's been an amazing show. Lori, Kim, thank you. True heroes. These are your heroes. Not all heroes wear capes, but a lot of heroes have fabulous hair. So remember that. And thank you, ladies, so much. And do you have anything else before we go?
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. See y'all Tuesday.
See you Tuesday. I'm excited.
Yes.
Boom, there it is right there, guys. Print screen it, own it, keep it. And once again, stay tuned to the socials. We will let you know how you can tune in. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much and good night.
Good night.